Okay, so I sent a couple pictures, but basically you start by this it's like 3 by 5 inch, fold it in half, and then tuck one end down, and then I just started winding it at that point, kind of looking at the tip to make sure you don't go down too steep or too flat, but just kind of make it look like a rose petal wound up tight in the center, and then just glue down the end. So it's going to look like this middle section when you're done. And then I started taking the petals and I sprayed them with stiffener. They don't really hold a curl too well, but they do a little bit, and it helps get some of the wrinkles out. So I think it's better to try it than not. So I just wrap it around the wand and it gets a nice curl shape. I don't know if your shirt has a pattern that shows on both sides. I think almost all the ones for the bridal bouquet I made did, but this one doesn't, that I'm using for this example. So I had to kind of try to figure out which way I wanted the petals to face, which was tricky because as you work your way around, at the beginning of the rose, in the middle of the rose, they're curling in toward the center, but then at the very outermost petals, you want them to curl outward. So I actually flipped the direction. So these ones, since they're kind of curling in, I had the pattern on the outside, but then since these are curling out, does that make sense? So anyway, after you get them curled, I cut a slit at the bottom, and then a little drop of glue and overlap it. And then what you want to do is figure out, okay, so the pattern goes this way because it's curling around the center. And then you want to just put glue along the base and then wrap it tight around the center. And then your other one, you're going to just do the same thing. It's just going to overlap a little. So here's one. It's okay if there's like a little space too. You can always add more glue and kind of pull it tighter if you think it's not tight enough. Actually overlapped around the other one. Pull it tight on the other side. It really looks funky when you first start, but the more petals you add, it just starts to look better and better. And sometimes a petal will flop the wrong way, and that's okay because you can kind of correct it by adding another petal around it and just pull it the way you want it to go. I feel like it's actually pretty forgiving. So you're going to want to just kind of keep wrapping these around, just like you would with the felt flowers. And after I did about 4 or 5, I actually cut bigger petal shapes. I'll show you what I did for those. I'm going to actually flip the pattern out now and start making the petals go out, but you can kind of just play around with it and see what looks good as you're going. I'm going to skip ahead and just show you the petal shape that I used for the outermost layers. I only went slightly taller, but I actually started adding a little bit of a curve to some of the outer petals so that they're more natural looking. Not all of them are like the same. I might do one like this, and then I might do one like this. still cutting slits in them at the bottom. It really helps give it shape even better than the curling does. I'm going to skip the curling and just show you. Once you start adding the outer petals, you want to attach them in a way so that they are curling outward, and that really helps with the shape of these guys. See how it's starting to pull down? Obviously, I'm not done, but when you're done, they kind of look like this. And then you just add it to a stem the same way you would the felt flowers. You just put the wire and stuff and little felt leaves on the bottom.